They called it Gamergate. Then they called it Gamergate 2.0, one of many socially divisive battles that was happening across the internet and beyond. Yet now we're finding out that perhaps it was all a facade. Maybe there was really no attempt to take over the gaming industry or our entertainment organically. Rather, it was all a government coup. Today we'll tell you what we're finding out and how USAID may have been financially involved with your tax dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to continue to break down the news, give you what you need to know when it comes to entertainment. And this time, yes, we are down the rabbit hole with a government that clearly enjoyed rabbits and stayed down there as much as they could. We don't mind the yuck of the muck, folks, because we'll go down there to drag the truth out of the mud if we have to. And that's what exactly is happening when it comes to USAID and Elon Musk driving his DOGE mobile over those who were using your taxpayer dollars fraudulently to divide and conquer society. We'll explain everything and what it has to do with DOGE, with USAID, Gamergate, and beyond. Click the like button and let's get it on right now. Take a look at this. And yes, I know the print is small. You may have to, depending on the device you're watching this, you may have to really get down close, but we're going to read it for you so you don't. This comes from, and good Lord, try to figure out how to say this, at Anar Seldane. Okay, well, you know, sometimes Twitter names are a little strange. Says, people have wondered if our tax dollars were used to promote wokeness in video games. And the answer is yes. Again, this is breaking today. USAID paid Politico millions per year to write pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes Gamergate as disinformation and a harassment campaign. If we click on this Politico article, which we now know, was funded by the government, it says video games were never really the exclusive province of white male loners, but that's been the stereotype, and some players took that reputation seriously. So much so that they organized a backlash to try to protect it. None of that's true. 6 years ago, a disinformation campaign with the profoundly stupid name of Gamergate spent several months orchestrating a series of harassment campaigns of women game developers and critics. That's also not true. Several women fled their homes in fear for their safety. I'm not sure their names are Gina Carano. The harassers' motivation to drive people they dubbed social justice warriors for their progressive values and their desire to see realistic depictions of women and minorities in video games out of the industry. Yeah, like Dustborn. That's the accurate depiction, okay? Now, if you think that, no, surely the government wouldn't be involved in this. Surely not. Take a look at this out of the New York Post, broke yesterday. USAID workers hid pride flags incriminating books when DOGE arrived. It didn't feel good. This is by Alexander Hall. And what it goes on to say is that as DOGE arrived at the halls of USAID, they were busy trying to hide propaganda stuff. They just didn't realize they were going to be kicked out of the entire building. And that meant that DOGE could then go through and figure out who are these nut jobs working here doing this absolute propaganda nonsense. Well, guess what, folks? It's not just Politico. The Associated Press has also been raking in millions of dollars in government money. This is from Kyle Becker, and it says the Associated Press's bias also makes perfect sense. How much did the Associated Press manage to get from the U.S. government? Well, $619,000, might as well round it up, it's just a few dollars short, $620,000, and that's just one thing that Kyle is pointing out here. And of course, you can see the transactions over time going to the Associated Press. That's all to say that Grums is right. Grums says, nah, that can't be true. Then he searches. Holy crapola. USAID paid Politico to have Gamergate smeared? And then he has tons of images available.
And
Politico.
Let's not forget how insidious this is, and let me explain what I mean. If you are the average Joe out there and you don't know from gaming or Gamergate or anything else, if Politico predefines what that word means as an evil attempt to disenfranchise good people, that's what sticks in your mind when you hear it ever again. It's not just a news story of the moment. It's an ongoing image that they are planting so that when people hear that word, that's what they think. And that's truly propagandistically insidious, I think.
Listen, I agree with you. I think because listen, we're about 3 weeks into the Trump administration. We're about 2 weeks into DOGE actually being able to do stuff. I think this is the absolute tip of the iceberg. And I think we are going to see for months or years stuff coming out about how we were all being manipulated by the U.S. government. And by that, I mean by the deep state, which seems to be highly infiltrated and affiliated with the far left. So think about it this way. How much have we had to fight in our society over stuff like Gamergate? How many industries did they destroy? How many things did they insert ultra wokeness into it? And we don't exactly know what the nefarious purposes were. Like, was the purpose specifically to cause us to be at each other's throats so that we would be looking in a different direction than what they were really doing? Were they attempting to actually get these values to be taken up by young Americans? Like, what is it exactly that they were achieving by paying money for propaganda so that there would be blue-haired weirdos in video games all over the place, even if it meant sinking the sales of the industry? Michelle, how much more do you think we're about to find out as we discover that the U.S. government was essentially paying millions and millions of dollars to things like Politico, the New York Times, Disney, which we've got the exclusive on. I mean, I can keep going, but now Gamergate. Of all the crazy things the U.S. government was involved in, Gamergate?
Well, I mean, when we found out, not to be gross, but when we found out that our country sent $50 million worth of condoms to the Palestinians, what else is surprising?
And then what were those used for instead, Michelle?
Yeah, well, they were made to make something that I don't think I can say on this.
They were, folks, so you understand, those items were inflated, allegedly, and used to fly over go boom things into a different area. Different kind of boom.
So the bottom line, if we're doing that, I think it's just going to be continues. I think you hit it when you said the tip of the iceberg. I think this is just the very beginning. We found out that they have been funneling money even to Christian websites to try to get them to basically go with their narratives, even certain church charities to get them to bring in illegals. It's every...
To that point, there's a story out today. You know, the lady bishop that made all the nasty remarks at Trump at the National Cathedral?
Oh, I bet she got money, didn't she?
Oh, over $53 million to her agency, which is about taking care of illegals. 53 million. Yeah. Well, you know, dropping the bucket in the government, right?
So it wasn't just using government funds to sow discord, but also to maybe, I don't know, replace part of the working class there? Michelle, go ahead.
Yes. No, I mean, definitely. So my point is it doesn't shock me that they were into Gamergate, because pretty much that's why I named even the church. They're in every area that can be influenced. So video games is an area of influence for kids, older, teens, whoever's playing. So yeah, I mean, I think this actually should be a much bigger story than it is. I think it's sad that we live in a reality where, like, everyone should be outraged, honestly, quite frankly.
How many culture war battles have there been that the other side, the nonsensical side, was a tiny fringe minority, but they were stirred up by cash, cold, hard cash, where the government basically said, spout this absolute crap and we'll make sure this spigot doesn't stop. It's interesting. At this point, you could tell me that Kathleen Kennedy, and I'm not saying this is true, at this point, you could tell me Kathleen Kennedy took money from USAID to make The Last Jedi be what it was. And I'd be like, oh, yeah. Yeah, it's to sow social discord. Yeah.
It actually would all make sense then, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, it finally would.
Yeah. Well, but here's the interesting question I would pose. Did they think by doing this that they were going to win over people on quote unquote our side? Or did they think they would at least try and retain the people on their side who were deserting them in droves? I mean, how unrealistic or realistic were their hopes? And either way, it didn't work, obviously, in the vote totals. But when I hear these people, some of the lies that they told, and I go, oh, come on, nobody on our side would believe that. But it wasn't about our side. It was about the people they saw leaving. It was about the various groups they used to take for granted as they tribalized people. They were scared to lose any more of them, and now they will.
Well,
Because I'll tell you something, Americans of any political stripe, whatever, hate cheaters. And the classic example I always give, the other country in the world where baseball was really big was Japan, and it isn't recent. It predates World War II. And when World War II broke out and Pearl Harbor happened, the Sporting News, which was then the Sports Illustrated and everything else of sports stuff, a tabloid, had a front page editorial about how obviously the Japanese hadn't learned anything about sportsmanship or they wouldn't have done Pearl Harbor. Obviously, they were fake baseball fans. That's a historical record for you. So lots of people who were, well, I don't really like this orange guy, but by golly, I don't like cheating. And when you see cheating like this, it sticks. It sticks as to who done it.
Well, and what I was going to say, Lou, as you were talking there, is I think you say who they trying to appeal to. I think we have to remember we talk about this, say, on the Disney front of things a lot on this channel, and just how Disney so arrogantly keeps going on. They always think they're smarter than the audience. They always think, oh, we'll get them the next time, basically. I mean, I guess, because they keep giving us the same crap and expecting a different result. I think the elites, because that's what you're dealing with, the government, like those in power, I think they just think the peasants can be enough peasants can be manipulated.
Because it's worked in the past.
Yes.
And they don't think getting exposed changes that, and they're wrong.
This is just coming out, and this was brought to my attention by a super chat that just came in. We cannot put that super chat on the screen at the moment because I cannot fully confirm any of this. So I'm going to put in all capital letters here, allegedly, folks, because we're very careful before we say these sorts of things. So allegedly, you've got me down the rabbit hole here, Jean-Michael. But what we're hearing right now, coming out about 4 hours ago, is that USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 quote-unquote media NGOs. We're also hearing that 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine were dependent on USAID funding. Now, again, allegedly, and we're going to look into this. Okay, we got to verify all that. That's news that's coming out. That's just breaking. So there is a fog of war kind of thing there where it needs to be vetted. But if that turns out to be true, then whoa, Nelly, bar the door. If it turns out that USAID looks to have been basically paying off the entire journalistic enterprise. I mean, 6,200 journalists, 707 media outlets funded by USAID in part, that if that's true, that will be nuts. So we definitely need to look into that. We'll keep you up to date on it, folks. But that Park Place is covering this Gamergate side of it. The idea that the U.S. government may have been involved in sowing discord for whatever purpose. And you all thought you were bickering and arguing with crazies. You may have been arguing with the government the whole time. So there you go.
Only thing worse than crazies is crazies with money. And only thing worse than crazies with money is crazies with my money.
Yeah. Well, yes. And think about how crazy that is. Think about how insane that is. That you have people, especially men, right? Young men who feel disenfranchised in multiple ways in life, right? Who maybe took themselves out of a dating pool, who have secluded themselves, from feeling ostracized and so forth, have their one little respite in video games, and well, that had to be destroyed too. By who? Not just the, maybe far left, progressive leftist, or however you want to consider them, but by the United States government, their own government.
And I would point out that these are the same people who are saying that if, as is planned, the Trump tax cuts are not renewed, that the same thing that's going to make us pay less taxes is evil. But the taxes they do get, they use for this. That's a twisted world indeed.
And let me tell you how this game was played. I'll guarantee you. I mean, I'm not a betting kind of person. I'm not in favor of ESPN Bet. I'm not a gambling kind of guy. But I believe I'd put money that Daily Wire did not get USAID funding. I'm willing to bet that Breitbart did not get USAID funding. I'm willing to bet that Hot Air, that Daily Caller, I mean, I can keep going, PBD, Timcast. I'm willing to bet that none of our colleagues here on YouTube that report in this space that they were receiving USAID funding. And what that means is that we were operating at an $8 million deficit versus these loony, crazy, lazy journalists who are on the free dole. Like, it's just, there's an ice cream machine of money that's been installed in the legacy media outlets, and they just get cold hard cash, and we actually have to do it the real way. Unfair, and well, we'll see what plays out. Vash, we're going to hold on.
And yet we're winning.
Yeah, exactly.
We're winning without all of that. Wow. You suppose people actually listen to what's said as opposed to how much of it there is funded?
Well,
what a shock.
Get ready for everybody being on an even starting point. That's going to be fascinating for the legacy media. You know, we must bid adieu for now. But folks, I encourage you, if you enjoyed this kind of video, well, we have plenty more and more on the way every single day. We do it for you. Check out the WDW Pro Channel and go click on videos. You can see the most recent ones and enjoy all the stuff we're talking about, and hopefully give us some feedback, because we would love to cater what we're doing for you. You are the consumer. You are our valued guest. It's how entertainment companies once upon a time treated the people who bought their stuff, and we're still doing it here. Folks, on the way out the door, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, we always say this because we think you indeed are special and matter. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.